This is fermented plant juice, FPJ. What happens when plant scraps and brown sugar become liquid gold in 5 days, and why the method only works if you treat it as a real process instead of a miracle jug of sugar water. In this video, I walk you through exactly what this liquid is, where the method comes from, how to make a clean 5-day batch at home, how to dilute it so you do not burn your plants, and where the honest limits sit. Once those pieces click, the scraps you already have stop heading for the trash and start earning a place in the garden. Forget the random internet trick label. This process matches fermented plant juice, often shortened to FPJ, which stands as one of the core inputs in Korean natural farming, the system popularized by Han-kyu Cho, born in 1935 in Suwon, South Korea, and carried forward until his death in 2025. Cho's framing stays simple once you hear it, because he tied farm inputs to everyday Korean fermentation, kimchi included. Handbook material describes FPJ as a process similar to kimchi, only brown sugar takes the place of salt, and that sugar does the hard work of pulling juice out of plant tissue, while surface microbes on the leaves, mainly lactic acid bacteria and yeasts, ferment the liquid that forms. FPJ sits inside a larger family of KNF inputs, and placing it there helps the whole system make sense. It works alongside IMO, indigenous microorganisms, which is the foundational soil input in Korean natural farming. But today we stay on the plant juice side. When buds form later in the season, growers often switch to FFJ, fermented fruit juice, for the bloom phase, since FPJ is built for the vegetative stage and FFJ is built for reproductive growth. Unlike fish amino acid, or FAA, which is the nitrogen-rich fermented fish input, or water-soluble calcium, known as WCA, which supports cell wall strength, FPJ delivers growth signals drawn from the plant material itself. Those sibling inputs share the same fermentation logic, but each targets a different plant need. People who say liquid gold mean a concentrated fermented plant extract used later in very small amounts, not sweet water dumped straight onto the roots, while a full fertilizer program vanishes overnight. Call it a closed-loop garden amendment. Scraps go in, diluted feed comes out, and the solids head back to the compost pile. The classic method calls for brown sugar on purpose. Molasses still rides along inside it and carries trace minerals such as calcium, potassium, iron, and magnesium, though those amounts stay small, and bulk NPK is not the sugar's main job at all. Osmosis plus food for the ferment is the real assignment. Plain language covers the mechanism cleanly. Osmotic pressure from the sugar draws juice out of chopped plant cells. Fermentation begins as that liquid forms, and Cho's material notes that chlorophyll dissolves better in weak alcohol than in water or oil, while the ferment itself produces a little alcohol to help with extraction. No lab is required to use that idea. Only respect for fresh plant material, brown sugar, thyme, and an air-friendly covering instead of a dead sealed mess. What goes in the jar matters. Nettles, comfrey, mugwort, dandelion, clover, plantain, seaweed, bamboo shoots, crop laterals, overgrown greens, unmarketable produce, fruit peels, and soft vines show up again and again among KNF teachers and home practitioners who favor vigorous greens and garden odds and ends, with fresh material beating woody stems every time. Those same plants, comfrey, nettle, dandelion, are the ones most often called dynamic accumulators in permaculture circles, though precise mineral targeting from any single plant is debated. And the useful framing here is simply that vigorous, mineral-rich greens make stronger FPJ. Skip the washing when you can, because the useful microbes live on the leaf surface, and Cho's handbook figure puts that surface life at roughly 100,000 to 150,000 microorganisms per 1 cubic centimeter of leaf, which is Cho's figure from the tradition, not a modern lab average I am dressing up as fact. Heavy rain harvests are worth avoiding when possible, since rain washes off the very microbes you want, and early morning harvest before or near sunrise, ideally with dew still present, remains the standard guidance in Cho style and home FPJ teaching. If practical, no hype garden chemistry like this helps you, take 1 second and hit like, because that signal tells YouTube to show the video to more home gardeners who want simple methods that respect the soil. And if you have not subscribed yet, subscribe so the next step-by-step build does not pass you by. I will keep this straight and usable. 5 days sits inside the common home range without strain. Practical sources often land around 5 to 7 days. Some home batches stretch toward 10 to 14 days when temperature and moisture slow things down, and classic teaching centers near a week, which means 5 days is realistic when the jar stays active and the smell stays clean. Step 1 starts with fresh plant scraps or young, vigorous greens, chopped small so the sugar can reach more surface area. Step 2 mixes in organic brown sugar, and because ratios in real sources vary, no single official number gets invented here. Practical ranges run about 1:1 by weight in several home and teaching guides, roughly 3 parts plant to 2 parts sugar by weight when the greens run drier, and about 1:1 by volume with some teachers. Hope Gardens describes a near 50-50 mix with a 5 to 7 day window, while Nigel Palmer's guidance in the Regenerative Grower's Guide to Garden Amendments uses roughly 3 to 2 for drier plants and about 1:1 for wetter fruit material, with about a week as a typical ferment. Step 3 packs the mix into a clean glass or ceramic jar, often around 2/3 full, with a weight on top to help start the draw and a breathable cloth covering the mouth. Pickling crock seal patterns are a different game, and bokashi is different again. Bokashi layers food waste with inoculated bran in a sealed anaerobic system for about 2 weeks before burial or composting, while compost tea steeps finished compost in water, sometimes with molasses and LAB serum or lactic acid bacteria serum, is yet another KNF input made through a separate rice wash and milk process. Keep those methods separate so the process stays clear. Step 4 holds the jar at room temperature out of direct sun, where liquid often begins forming within hours to a day or two, and by day 5 you should have a pullable liquid if the batch is working. Step 5 trusts your nose and eyes. Sweet, sour, or lightly alcoholic ferment smell is the target. Putrid rot is the stop sign, and anything that smells like a failed garbage bag stays off the plants. Strain the good liquid, compost the solids, and leave the fancier follow-ups alone unless you want them. Some growers later work residual solids further, including vinegar extraction in Palmer's approach, but the basic path stays simple. Strain, store cool and dark, and dilute before use. The whole making process fits in those steps, with no mystery machine and no special brand of garden sugar. Plant safety and channel credibility both live in this section. Classic FPJ use runs very dilute, with common guidance sitting around 1 to 500. Mother Earth Gardener's coverage of practitioner Aaron Englander points to about 1 to 500 with rainwater after roughly a 1-week ferment at 1:1 by volume. And Palmer's examples stay easy to remember. About 1 tablespoon of FPJ in 4 gallons of water lands near 1 to 1000, while about 2 tablespoons in 4 gallons lands near 1 to 500. 1 quart of concentrate at 1 to 500 becomes on the order of 500 quarts, or about 125 gallons, of ready-to-use amendment, and Rancho Mastatal's practical range of about 4 to 8 milliliters per gallon lines up with those weak dilutions, while Sprouting Fam warns not to push concentration past about 0.2%. Stronger internet recipes exist, including one home write-up at about 1 teaspoon per gallon, and those stronger mixes deserve the experimental label, because over-strong liquid can burn. Start weak. Soil drench or light foliar spray works in the morning or evening. Hard midday sun is a poor time to blast leaves, and rainwater or water that is not harsh with chlorine is the better carrier when you can get it, because chlorine can work against the living side of the brew. Light repeated amendment during active growth is the lane for this liquid, not the only fertility plan for the whole year. Scrap-based ferments catch attention for a bigger reason, and the numbers stay honest when we keep them in their lane. EPA figures put retail, food service, and residential wasted food at about 66 million tons in 2019, with about 60% of that, around 39.6 million tons, sent to landfill, while food makes up about 24% of municipal solid waste landfilled. Landfilled food waste also ties to a major share of landfill methane in EPA analysis, and diverting scraps on a home scale will not rewrite the national chart by itself, yet the same principle holds in your kitchen and garden. Waste becomes an input. Fertilizer cost supplies the other half of the context. USDA ERS documented a sharp price spike through late 2021, with anhydrous ammonia up about 235% year-over-year, urea up about 149%, and liquid nitrogen 32% up about 192%. Prices looked more stable by early 2025 and sat below that peak in the ERS description, so the spike explains why gardeners got serious about homemade inputs without claiming every bag still costs triple forever. ReFed put U.S. surplus food around $380 to $381 billion in 2024, with about 85% of that value tied to food waste. National economics is the frame there, not your grocery receipt, and the useful takeaway stays simpler. Scraps hold value once you know what to do with them. Experienced gardeners deserve balance, so here it is without soft edges. The plausible pieces include sugar-driven extraction, fermentation by leaf surface microbes, and a dilute liquid that can act as a light biostimulant or microbial food depending on the plants you used. University of Hawaii CTHR published English-language natural farming materials on FPJ and related inputs. Hawaii has been a major teaching hub for these methods, and trials and farm evaluations tied to that world, including work associated with Kunhui Wang around 2011 and 2012, have reported improved plant health indicators in some settings. Encouraging results are still not a blank check. The contested ground includes the idea that sugar or molasses creates a lasting soil microbe miracle by itself. Robert Pavlis at Garden Myths, writing from a science-minded gardener's seat, argues that sugar can cause a short boom and bust in microbes, and that steady organic matter and compost win the long game. Pavlis's line stays blunt: there is no magic in molasses. Compost tea work also carries the caution that higher sugar rates can favor the wrong organisms if you get careless. FPJ is not a complete replacement for compost, minerals, and soil testing. Justus von Liebig's law of the minimum still applies. Growth is limited by the scarcest essential factor rather than the total pile of everything else you added. And homemade FPJ has no single standard NPK panel because it changes with the plants, the season, and your process. Dynamic accumulator folklore is popular in this space. Precise mineral targeting is debated, and brown sugar alone is not a primary fertilizer. It is also worth noting that Jadam, Youngsang Cho's related Korean natural farming system, shares some principles with KNF, but uses different inoculants and ratios. So if you have come across Jadam materials, know that they sit in the same family without being the same method. Guaranteed triple growth from any jar on any soil is marketing. Your 5-day jar is a smart scrap ferment, and use dilute. It can be a clean tool inside a wider soil-first system. The full picture behind plant scraps and brown sugar becoming liquid gold in 5 days comes down to a short chain of disciplined steps. Fresh, unwashed scraps meet brown sugar, osmosis and fermentation handle the extraction, and you strain by day 5 when the batch smells like a proper ferment. Dilution on the order of 1 to 500 comes next, then light feeding, then solids to the compost, while compost, mulch, and soil scents stay in the program, because this liquid is a helper, not the whole farm. That is Korean natural farming's FPJ idea brought down to a countertop jar through Cho's kimchi logic, practical home ratios, and the guardrails that keep plants safe. If you make a batch this week, tell me in the comments what scraps you used and whether you applied it as a drench or a foliar spray, because I see those notes and your real-world results help other gardeners in this community make better choices. If this saved you a trip to the fertilizer aisle or gave you a cleaner way to use garden waste, like the video and subscribe for more straight, step-by-step organic methods. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.